Welcome back to the Chicago South Shore Freight's Kingsbury branch, a somewhat obscure branch line that runs from the CSS main in Michigan City down to Kingsbury, Indiana. There is very little traffic on this line, 3 trains per week at the most, but being an insane maniac, I have memorized the train schedule, so I know when these things are running. I'm just glad they're on a schedule at all. On August 25th, I knew there would be a train coming, so I headed to this crossing in hopes of catching it. But as you can see, we made it there just a little too late to get a good shot of the train. Fortunately for me, the speed limit on this line is very slow. And with the highway just on the other side of this crossing, I knew that I could catch up with this train before it hit the next crossing. So as soon as the tail end cleared, we crossed, made it onto the highway, and started making our way towards the next feasible crossing we could catch it at. Along the way, we ended up going by this soybean field where I could catch a glimpse of the double CSS Jeep powered train on the other side. Power on this day being CSS 2007 and 2000. Nothing too out of the ordinary, but I'm not going to complain about a Jeep duo, especially with the horn as legendary as this one. As we made it to the crossing on Highway 4, which for the record is the only crossing on this line in this general area with gates, we had to wait a little bit for the train to get there as we had overtaken it quite a considerable amount. But eventually we heard the legendary horn and saw the orange Jeeps come into view and roll over the crossing. We find ourselves back trackside on the Kingsbury branch only 2 days later on August 27th. We're back in Stillwell on this day, a spot that I've shot many South Shores at. This wouldn't have been my first choice to catch it at, but as you can see, it was getting dark, and I didn't want to go any farther up the line where I'd have to wait longer and risk it being almost dark by the time the train got there. After quite a considerable, about 20-minute or so wait for it to finish switching at the nearby industrial plant, the train finally roared into life and headed over the crossing. As you can see, the power on this day is the exact same 2 Jeeps that were leading the duo 2 days ago. So, was this shot completely necessary? Not really, but it's definitely a better shot than the last one. And I got more awesome horn audio, so hey, I'm not complaining. After passing the crossing, the train rolled to a halt. They do this sometimes to do a visual inspection of the train. The conductor gets off, walks towards the end, and then they reverse the cars past him so he can inspect all the bogies and make sure nothing is going wrong. They don't do this every time at this crossing, and my working theory is that if they pick up more cars in Stillwell from CN, then they have to do an additional inspection to make sure nothing is going wrong with those cars where they can proceed. But again, I'm not 100% sure on that, as info on this line is very limited, like everything else on it. Then, 2 days after that, on August 29th, I would find myself back in Stillwell at this crossing, which is actually just a tiny bit down from the crossing you just saw. Anyways, I kind of got jump scared by the local again and wasn't really prepared, so that's why I'm not at my normal spot. Power on this day was CSS 2004 and 2001, both of which are actually pretty interesting. 2004 being the last unit in the old South Shore scheme, but unfortunately it's been repainted since, and 2001 being the only unit without a veteran sticker. And now we have undoubtedly the best catch of the entire video. On September 8th, we would find ourselves at this crossing, which I like to call the lake crossing because there's a lake right across from it. Either way, as you can see, this is just down from the crossing on Highway 4 because, well, you can see the gates actually from here. But as I'm sure you've noticed, this engine doesn't look anything like your standard South Shore unit, because it's not. CSS 805 here is a patched Iowa Interstate engine that was bought from them and had the Iowa Interstate yellow painted over with CSS orange. And just behind it is, of course, 2010, another patched unit that was acquired from the Louisville and Indiana Railroad. For some reason, the two ex-Iowa Interstate SD38s, 805 here and its sister 804, almost never come down this line. I'm assuming they need the higher tractive effort 6-axle engines up on the main area of South Shore for coal trains and heavier manifest rather than just these tiny locals. So seeing one here is quite remarkable, especially with 2010 tagging along, making for a lash-up with no South Shore orange in it, something I've never seen before. Quite a catch. Now we have September 12th, the final trip of this video. I was determined to see the South Shore on this day because I figured that if 2007 and 2000 hadn't run back on the local several times, then 805 and 2010 had to be on the local again on this day. I was wrong. Power was 2000 and 2006. Not a bad lash-up, of course, because it's literally impossible to make a bad lash-up on this railroad, but I was a little disappointed, I will admit. The train was running Longwood forward, though, and it was at peak golden hour, so I decided to get this interesting low-angle shot from the other side of the crossing instead to enhance this train that would, in a normal circumstance, be pretty boring. And I think it turned out absolutely beautifully. Not to mention the amazing horn action. 805 was a nice break from the standard South Shore Jeeps, but man, its horn pales in comparison to these ones. And with that train gone, that's all the South Shore catches I have to share with you right now. I'll definitely get more. Who knows how long it'll take for the part 3 of this video to come out. But for now, catch those units while you can, especially the orange Jeeps with legendary horns. And I will see you in the next video.